Why I don't believe in back exercises for enduro races. So before you jump up and down, hear me out. So I guess the problem for a lot of enduro riders, so whether it's desert racing, whether it's cross country, whether it's hard enduro, is you're generally standing or getting into the same positions a lot for long periods of time. So we're talking like 3 hours plus. Especially for desert racing, where you're moving quite fast, you might be standing in the attack position for a long time, and obviously moving quite quickly as well. So back pain, back tightness, back fatigue is something that comes up a lot for enduro guys. Now, the common go-to for lower back pain is, or lower back fatigue is, oh, I've got a weak back. I need to get my back stronger. And that was the same thing that I did when I raced motocross, is like I used to get sore legs. So I was like, all right, well, I'm getting sore legs on the bike. It's at this top part here. So when I go to the gym, I'll go and do exercises that target this top part of the leg. The thing is though, even though I did all those exercises to target the top part of my leg still got sore. And I just thought, oh, they're not strong enough. I need to keep doing it, keep at it. And I find the same thing with riders with their lower back, is they're like, oh, I just need to get my lower back stronger. If I could get my lower back stronger, then it wouldn't get as tired as quickly. So the problem with that way of thinking is that your spine, your spinal erectors, all those muscles that run up and down your back, all the way up from the base of your neck, all the way down to your lower back, they're designed to take a certain amount of load. Okay, they're designed to take a certain amount of fatigue. They've got a certain level of endurance. The problem is when we push them past what they're designed for or what they're able to take. And so I think there's about 600 muscles in the body. Some muscles in the body are designed to take a lot of load, like your glutes, your bum, your hamstrings, your quads. They're big powerhouse muscles that can take a fair bit of load. And then there's other muscles which can't take as much load. That being like muscles like your back, muscles like your forearms, and there's even other smaller, more minuscule muscles that are more supportive muscles rather than the main muscles helping your body to move. So the thing is, if you're giving your back more load than what it can handle or what it's designed for, it's like having let's say you got a trailer full of bikes and you're trying to pull that trailer with a little 2 litre Hyundai Getz. Like, it's not going to happen. Like, if you've got the choice of having the V8 Patrol or the 2-cylinder Getz to pull the trailer, which one's going to do it a lot easier? Obviously, the Patrol is going to be able to carry that load for days. And that's what we want to do with our body. Whereas what a lot of riders do is they spend all this time trying to hot up their Hyundai Getz. They put an exhaust on the Hyundai Getz and they put better tyres on it, and they're still trying to and get more out of the Hyundai Getz. Whereas it doesn't matter what you do to that Hyundai Getz, unless you put a V8 in it, it's not going to matter. You can make all the tweaks and changes and change your driving style. It's still going to be hard work for that car and that motor, just because it's not cut out for moving the loads that you're trying to move. And that's the same for your back. So the thing that you've got to dive into is have a look, all right, my back's getting fatigued. It's a smaller muscle, or a muscle that's not designed to be taking a whole heap of load or putting it under as much load as what I'm asking of it. What can I do to spread that load out a little bit and use some of the other muscles in my body? So that's where you've got to have a look at, okay, my back didn't get sore at the start of the ride. I'm doing this 3-hour enduro. For the first half an hour, my back was fine, or first hour, my back was fine. And then the longer I rode for, the sorer it got. What that tells you is you were doing something at the start of the race that wasn't loading up your back. And that means something has changed throughout the race. That means you're loading up your back more than what you were at the start. So generally what happens is your body will naturally use the big powerhouse muscles of your body to ride and move on the bike. Whether that's like your quads, your hamstrings, your glutes, your upper back muscles like your lats, which are huge, big powerhouse muscles. So if they're being used to do most of the work, what that means is the smaller muscles in your body don't have to do as much work. So your back doesn't have to do as much work, your forearms don't have to do as much work, your calves don't have to do as much work. All those smaller muscles don't have to do as much work because the big ones are doing their job properly. What happens though is as you keep riding, if you're not physically prepared enough, those muscles will start to lose endurance and start to break down. So now as you've been riding for half an hour, hour and a half, however long it is, your quads aren't doing the same amount of work. Your hamstrings aren't doing the same amount of work. Your glutes aren't doing the same amount of work. Your lats aren't doing the same amount of work. All these big powerhouse muscles are doing less and less and less work. but you're still asking the same from your body. You're still demanding it to do the same thing, which is ride the bike at the pace or the speed that you have. So what happens is, because those muscles are taxed, that load has to move to another muscle group. So it will move to different muscle groups in the body that are fresher or that are stronger at that point in time. And so for a lot of us is like, once our legs start to go, then that's when our back starts to take most of the load and take most of the work, because our legs are cooked. They don't have the strength, they're taxed, that load's got to move somewhere else, and that goes into our lower back, which means our lower back is doing a heap more work than what we'd like it to. So how do you fix this? So once you know what's actually causing the lower back fatigue and tightness, then you've got to look at your training and you've got to make sure that you fix up your weaknesses. Okay, so again, it's not about just going straight to back strengthening exercises, because again, what we want to do is we want to stop your legs, your hamstrings, your quads, your lats. We want to stop all those big muscles from getting fatigued. Okay, we want to get the big V8s working properly. We don't want to be trying to jazz up the 2 cylinders and trying to get them to do more work. So the first area to look at is your glutes, your arse. So big powerhouse muscles as well. If you can get your glutes working really, really well, that's going to take a lot of the load out of your back. And more importantly, not just get them working, keep them working all the way through the race. So some exercises that you can do during the week in the gym is you can do movements like deadlifts and squats. You can use like back squats or front squats with a bar. Stronger you can get with those exercises, the more they're going to get your glutes working. Those exercises as well, the deadlifts, different variations of weighted squats, are also going to be really good for getting your quads and getting your hamstrings working as well. So all of those powerhouse muscles in the lower body that we want working, you can get working with deadlifts and squats. And that's why we use a lot of those exercises and variations of those exercises with our riders, because they're some of the most beneficial, if not the most beneficial exercises that you can be doing to help build your endurance and strength and fitness out on the bike. You don't need a whole heap of fancy different exercises targeting every single little muscle group, when you can just use those two and hit those muscle groups to the degree that we need to for your riding and racing. And it's also just time efficient as well. You can use 2 exercises and do, say, 3 sets of 10 to start off with for each one. It's easy to be able to get that done. In terms of the upper back, so you've got your lats, which is this big muscle which sits under your arm and goes into your upper back. We want to get that muscle working and make sure that that's taking a lot of load, because again, it's a big powerhouse muscle for your upper body. So the more that we can get these lats and big upper body muscles working, the less load your lower back is going to have to take when you're out riding. So some exercises that are great for that is you can use exercises like pull-ups. A lot of people find pull-ups difficult, like hard to scale, especially if you can't do enough pull-ups to get the benefit from them. So a great thing or exercises that we use with our riders is we'll do a lot of bent over rows or variations with bent over rows. So you can use different grips. You can use like an underhand grip, an overhand grip. You could use dumbbells as well to be able to do your bent over rows. You can do the bent over rows at different angles. So you can do a bent over row from your mid shin. You can do a bent over row from like say knee height and pull into your belly button. So you can do a Google search on them if you're not sure what they look like. But ultimately, again, what we're doing is we're getting those upper back muscles working. And so what you'll find is when you get the upper back muscles working in your quads and your hamstrings and your glutes, your lower back isn't going to get as taxed. It's not going to be doing it's not going to be taking much of the load, because all of those big muscle groups are going to be moving you around on the bike. They're going to be taking the impact. They're going to be getting your ass up and down off the seat, rather than getting the lower back muscles to do a whole heap of work that we don't want them to do.